Welcome to the Catfish Weekly Web Show with Lyle, Chris, and Chuck as your hosts. Catfishing is so much more flavor that you're looking for. It's Catfish Weekly, yeah, Catfish Weekly.
Catfish Weekly is brought to you by Whiskerware Apparel. Get your catfish on www.whiskerwareapparel.com. Now, here are your hosts, Lyle Stokes, Chris Wallace, and Chuck Davidson.
All right, everybody. Welcome to Catfish Weekly, episode 52. That's the first time we've been able to try to use the new intro. The only way that we could figure out how to do it's that screen share. Let us know if you were able to hear it, not able to hear it. I did full screen it about halfway through. So if you I'll probably try to get that done quicker. But just let us know what you thought of that new intro. We'd appreciate it very much. Like I said, this is episode 52. Today we're going to be talking about trip planning. Planning your tournaments and planning just for fun type of trips, things like that. Talk a little bit about what we might have done past couple days and over the weekend fishing and whatnot. But I'll go ahead and let Chuck get us kicked off here. And thanks everybody for joining. And you got any questions or anything for us, just let us know in chat.
Yeah, I planned me a good old trip this weekend. I went up to Gunnersville, and the bite was terrible. So, um, when I plan trips, there's a few different ways I do it. Tournaments and fun fishing is totally different. I try to keep my when I plan a trip for a tournament, um, I try to plan on getting fresh bait. Um, I want to somewhere really nice to stay, really close to where the tournament's going to be. Uh, when it's going to be fun fishing, you know, I usually don't go overnight. I just try to, plan to run for the day. With the tournament fishing going on, the tournament fishing takes so much of the money now that the fun fishing trips are pretty much out, few and far more between than what I'm used to. So, um,
Chuck, just to interrupt real quick on that, I'm really hoping, and how do you think that the gas prices being as low as they are right now, if they stay that way, you think that's going to help you on being able to get to do some more fun fishing?
no, it's really going to help me be able to do more tournament fishing.
More tournaments?
Yeah, because last year I was only going, last year on my budget, I was only able to do one, every couple of months. I had a couple more planned out that was rescheduled, and I'd already planned vacation for them, which I ended up just doing some fun fishing during those two times. But with the gas prices like they are, I'll be able to do more tournament fishing this year. Um, I'll probably just do. I live right here on the lake, and I probably had my boat in this lake twice last year. Um, I was just trying to get off to other places and learn different waters. Um, I just got so used to, putting in here and just going up and down the river here and, catching fish. It wasn't as challenging as it was, going somewhere else, learning new waters. Then, when it was tournament time, I didn't, the places that I should call my home waters and I should have advantage at, I wasn't doing too well because I wasn't fishing those waters. They were really close. But even though they're on the same chain or, you know, pretty close to where I live, sometimes it's a whole different. River fishing's what I'm used to here. I very rarely go up to the big water. Um, the lake above us, Neely Henry, it's got some pretty good river downtown Gadsden, and then it gets big water, but it's just totally different fishing than Logan Martin is. So next year I'll just be able to plan on more tournament fishing. So it's gonna take a lot of planning. Right now what I did, I went ahead and marked what tournaments I'm gonna be fishing for the year. Um, I haven't sent any uh, pre-registration money in yet because there's a couple that I'm really wanting to go to that I don't know if I'm gonna be able to make it or not to be able to meet the schedule that I really need to make here on my home waters. There's some larger tournaments coming, and that I didn't get to fish last year that I'm wanting to hit this year. So right now I've just got the tournaments that I want to fish planned out, and I'll be trying to schedule a vacation around those times. I at least want to take a day off, before the tournament on a few of them, so I can get down, try to get fresh bait, get a little bit of, you know, scan around with the imaging a little bit, see what's going on, try to get a little bit of advantage because, somebody from out of state comes in and, they fish a couple of lakes down from you and, they beat you on that should be your home waters, even though you never fished it before. You should be able to know it and should be able to do well on your home lakes and, defend your territory.
Yeah. Now, do you have when you start planning on your, like for myself, um, I don't think I have all the tournaments in there, but I've got quite a few, and I'll probably end up putting more. But on my smartphone, I have, of course, the calendar app, and like you can see on mine, I got, oh, I hit the wrong button, but like I've got January, it has a couple tournaments and a few other things, but like you go through and put like the ice, like for me, I got ICA, Hoosier Whiskers. Um, let's see, I probably have Bass Pros that are close by. Basically anything that's going to be in my radius, I try to have it. And my radius is really all over the state of Indiana and close by, Illinois or Ohio, Kentucky. Um, I try to get, and there's a lot, but I try to get the ones that I'm really interested in fishing. I get them all on my phone, and then I'll, of course, have some that are overlapping each other, but then I just decide which ones I'm going to, which I'm not going to. And do you do that as well, or you muted yourself?
Well, what I did, I made me an Excel spreadsheet, and I put it, I sorted it by the date, of course. I'm trying to spread them at least 2 weeks apart. At the closest, because it'd be very, with my work schedule and everything, it'd be hard for me to do, 2 weeks in a row. Um, so my work, they work with me a little bit. If I don't take vacation on a Friday, I'm pretty much obligated to work a Saturday if I have to. Um, to guarantee me having a Saturday off, guaranteed I have to take Friday vacation. So the more important tournaments that I want to make sure that I'm locked into and I'm gonna make no matter what, I'm gonna go ahead and put in for a Friday off on 5 of those. I only get 10 days vacation a year, so most of my vacation is gonna be, Fridays before tournaments, I guess. Um,
Now, one of the questions we got in here was, do you always catch fresh bait for a tournament, or do you just carry some frozen stuff with you? Or, and I guess I'd add to that, do you look for bait, say, a day beforehand, or just keep it on ice, or do you try to get it the day of? It's all in the planning as well.
yeah, I try to plan on getting it. What I'm gonna use the next day during the evening bite. If I'm gonna get bluegills or whatever, I don't want to spend my whole day, Friday when I can be out scanning around and checking out some holes, see if they're hitting. I just like waiting until you know 4:30, 5 o'clock, 5:30. Usually right when the bluegills or whatever's hitting, or the shads coming up in the sloughs really good or whatever, and just go out for about 45 minutes and get all the bait I need at once instead of spending all day trying to find bait and trying to get fish to bite. So, and that way by getting it, right before dark, it's usually not that hard to keep everything alive overnight. You don't have hot sun beating down on it all day and stuff like that. And I always have frozen with me, just in case. I usually waste more frozen bait than I use. I always bring stuff with me to make sure I've got it. By the time I come back home, it's thawed out. I usually bring too much to begin with because I always want to make sure I got enough. So this year I probably wasted just as much skipjack as I actually used.
You want to know, in all seriousness, this year being at that winter on Wheeler tournament, it completely changed with something that I do that you're talking about right now on the wasted bait. Because when I went to that winter on Wheeler tournament, when we got there, I had 3 bags of bait left in my freezer, and the 3 bags are 3 bags that I had probably thawed out and refroze at least 4 or 5 times. I mean, they were the emergency bait. If I had to use it, I would. And that's the bait that I caught the 66-pound blue on down there. So what that's done to me is that the bait that's been rethawed and frozen or whatever, it's of course it's going to be on the bottom of my freezer, but I'm keeping it in there all year long, just in case we get to that point where come December, January, whatever it is, we get to a tournament. Especially I guess on Wheeler Lake, because them fish seem to like that bait down there. I'll have it.
Yeah, I just usually by the time mine, get good and thawed out, a lot of summer tournaments here, it gets really, really hot, and just just trying to keep it on ice, and your ice is melting. You got your drain on your cooler open, and it just usually gets more soggy than anything. I don't have a pressure sealer yet, so my stuff's either wrapped multiple times in Saran wrap and put in Ziploc baggies and stuff like that. But I've refroze a lot of it, but I've probably wasted more than I've used.
And see, that's something that I'm going to be doing new this year too. Is instead of vacuum sealing, a lot of guys are doing the just the Saran wrapping in there. I mean, I guess it's going to do the same thing. Um, I guess you get a good salt, ice water blend or brine that flash freezes the skipjack, and you get them in Saran wrap. I mean, I would think that it's probably not doing any worse than being in a vacuum sealed container.
Yeah, that's what when I go to catch skipjack, I mix my in my cooler half water, half ice. Probably more ice than water, but I just make a real slushy solution. Add about a third a box of ice, salt, rock salt in it. Um, and that water gets really cold. I checked the temperature in it, and it was 25 degrees, the water temp. You throw them down in there while they're still alive, and you see their tail just flip just a few times, and they're froze solid. So you could probably how you hear that you can freeze a fish if you blast freeze one, that you can bring it back to life. I bet I could have brought some of them out and just put them put them back in the water. That'd probably live.
Oh,
But
Doc Lang is in. He says he's got a special way he does frozen bait. Maybe he prepares it. Maybe he'll tell everybody on here.
so I throw it in that saltwater brine, and most time I try to get it in the freezer. After I dry it off real good, the more I pat it off and dry it off, the less frost forms on it. Um, it's going to get water all in their mouth and everything, but I even scale most of my skipjack, and the ones I do, I tag them for tournament or whatever, and baby them real good. Some stuff I got some, I doctor them up with some different juices and scents and stuff like that, and I'll keep those separate. Um, and then I try to get them in the freezer without them ever getting back above 32 degrees.
Hey, I tried, Doc. You can't blame a guy for trying. No, I had something interesting, and matter of fact, I did this today. One of my son's science fair projects. We chose which salt melts ice the quickest, and we chose, we had regular like table salt, Epsom salt, rock salt, and kosher salt. And what from the experiment that we did today, actually Epsom salt kept ice as ice the longest. So it made me curious on whether or not I would guess that that's keeping water the coldest as well if it's keeping ice as ice the longest. So Epsom salt might be the stuff to be using in these brines that people are making for flash freezing. I'm not positive. It's something that I was going to look into a little bit more, but
Yeah, that's why I use the kosher salt, the Epsom salts. The salt tries to melt the ice, and at the same time, it keeps the water from freezing, and some type of chemical reaction in there that it just gets that water cold. You can't even put your hand down in it; it's so cold. And when you take it out of that brine, and they're just already stiff. And the ones that I've done that to, after I've thawed them out, the blood looked perfect, just like I just cut him up fresh, even after being in the freezer for a month or two. And I don't know what it does with the blood. I don't know if it keeps it from soaking on into the meats or something like that. But that they look real fresh after I use a brine. I was seeing some of this stuff, the way these guys, do a brine with these menhaden and other baits, the saltwater guys. They'll use a brine. They'll take a 5-gallon bucket, and they'll put a layer of salt, and they'll just lay the bait fish down in a layer, put another layer of salt, and they'll actually keep their bait fish in a nice cool place without putting it in the freezer, and just keeping it in that salt. And the holes they put in the bottom of the 5-gallon bucket, you elevate the bucket, and all the juices and stuff that drain out of that bait fish drain out the bottom of that 5-gallon bucket into another bucket. And that stuff is supposed to be the oils and the all the attractants are supposed to be just as good as a fresh fish, and it's supposed to make it really tough like a jerky, to where it is really hard to come off the hook. And I'm really wanting to try that this year with some smaller skips and stuff, and see how that works out for me. They saltwater guys, the guides, and these commercial fishermen on these offshore guys, that they swear by it.
yep. The Brown says use the salt from like a water softener, rinse them off, and then wrap in blue mechanic towels. Um, yeah. So Lyle, why don't you jump in and chime in a little bit? Um, See what let everybody know what your planning style is, what you do for preparation, planning on tournaments, and just fun fishing. And
Well, we try to. There's a lot of difference. Like Chuck said, some of this stuff depends on where we're going. If we're just fun fishing, If we're going locally here close by the Mississippi River, then we just throw what we're going to need for the day in the boat, rods and tackle and some bait, and we take off and go down there and spend our day around Clarksville, Louisiana, somewhere like that. Now, if we're going to be going long distance, it's basically the same as what we would do for a tournament. We take the same rods and stuff and the same tackle, and we would pack the truck up with extra clothing and whatever else we would need to be gone for 2, 3, 4, 5 days at a time. And I never leave without froze bait. More than one time, I've run into instances where, like it was at Wheeler, they choose froze bait. It was a couple years ago. We won a tournament on froze shad that was over a year old, and people say, "Oh, you can't catch fish on froze shad." Well, you can. And that particular day, they didn't want skipjack, they didn't want fresh shad, they want live bait, but that old froze shad had been laying in my freezer, which is the only reason we took it. It's the only shad we had. That's what worked that day. And I'm not going to tell you it'll happen all the time, because most of the time you'll do better on fresh caught bait. Now, fresh caught bait, I consider something being caught in the last day or so, been put on ice or kept in a live well alive, and we all know shad's a little hard to keep alive, but it can be done. But basically, on tournament stuff, we load up, and Cindy's got a system where she puts stuff in the truck. She knows where everything goes, and I'm to leave it alone until she gets her stuff out. I get a little bitty area behind my seat, and everything else she puts all the stuff in, and we're just ready to go. She knows what we got to have and what we got to take and when we're going to need it and what we're going to need, and I've got a few personal things, and I take care of what we need in the boat and get all that ready in the bait and rods and tackle and stuff, and I check the boat over. And one thing I will mention that I consider extremely important is to check over your trailer if you're going on a trip. Now, personally, I take the tires and wheels off, and I grease the wheel bearings every spring. If we're traveling a lot, I'll do it again later on in the year, 4 or 5 months down the road, and a lot of people say, well, you don't need that because you don't do a car wheel bearing, but every 50,000 miles or whenever you need brakes or something, and that's true, but those never get in the water. And if you have a seal that's not sealing and water gets there than bearings, the last place you want to be broke down with that boat trailer is out on the highway someplace, miles and miles or states and states away from home. It's just the most miserable thing could happen to you. So I try to do that every spring, and like I say, if we're going a lot, I'll do it again about July or August, because as a rule, we'll fish on up in the winter, and I do not want to be broke down on the side of the road due to something I knew I shouldn't have done. So that's just something that we all ought to take into consideration while you're at it. Check your tires and look over the frame, make sure you don't have any stress cracks on it, and it's a good time to go in and check your lower unit grease to make sure it's fine, and anything else that you're concerned about on your boat motor, just knock it out, get it done, and then you don't have to worry about it for a while. That's part of preparation, and it's something you should do. And we always, if we're going anywhere other than just down the river, I'll check the air pressure in the tires before we ever leave to make sure it's all ready to go. Not only is it good for the tires, but it will make them last longer, and the price of tires, you want them to last as long as you can. Same as on your car. The boats, most people, now there is a lot of guys that have tandem trailers anymore, but for the most part, I still think the majority of them is single axle, and you go to load them up for a trip, you put a lot of extra weight on them babies that they don't normally have, so you need to make sure the tires are inflated and the wheel bearings are taken care of and all that. So, it's just common knowledge, common sense stuff that most people overlook and neglect, but, we don't change anything as far as hooks and stuff. We've got sinkers and things broke down into 2 or 3 containers to where they different places we go. I didn't really take any of the real heavy stuff when we went to Wheeler, but when we go to St. Louis or down here to the Mississippi, I don't take any of the light stuff. Pretty much got an idea whenever we go what we're going to need, and that's sort of how I do it. But tournaments, a lot more hectic situation, and we do make extra provisions in some of the stuff that we take along. And when we're traveling long distances, we don't plan on stopping and getting drinks all the way along. We'll take big cups and 2 liters and ice and use them in the truck while we're traveling. And then the only thing I have to stop for is fuel or go to the bathroom, something like that. So there's a lot of things that you can consider in that, and I could go on, and everybody else could too. But you just one thing that really works out good, and we normally do it. We don't do it every time, but we normally do, is make a list of what stuff we need before each trip. That way we know we've got everything done, and if we forgot something, we just have to pick it up. But if you make you a list out of what you're going to need while you're there, how many changes of clothes, how many meals you're going to eat in the motel or at your cabin, and are you going to eat on the way, you're going to stop out, and just make a preparation sheet of what you're going to need and how long you're going to be gone, and you can get an idea. And anything you do like that just saves you a couple bucks. That's just more money you put into your next fishing trip. So just some stuff to think about. I did want to mention to John Nordyke, welcome to the show. I believe this is his first night being with us, and it's really good to have him. I see we got some other people that I haven't seen on in a while or hadn't seen, so I'm glad to see everybody getting in there. And yeah, Brian Sanders says, how about an extra key for the boat? No kidding. The problem with that, Brian, is I still don't have the old one out of that switch yet, so I got to work on that a little bit tomorrow and try to get that done and get me another key. But you're right, a spare key and a pick to dig that old one out would sure be handy.
All right. Well, I know as each of us talk about a little bit of stuff that others, like when I start talking about something or you start talking about something, that you'll think of something else and just keep it in mind, and we'll talk about it. But a little bit of my preparation. One of the things that I do is that I definitely get on Google Earth. I look up the place that I'm going to be fishing. I try to check the water out. I try to check everything that I can out, looking at the Google Earth and seeing, does this cove look like it has any depth to it, or ledges, or trees in it, or some kind of dam, anything at all that attracts me to it. Is there a point out there? Is the Google Earth satellite image showing me this lake when it's down or when it's up, or when it's down? Really, I like it the most, honestly, because I've noticed a lot of things looking at Google image satellite footage that shows a lot of rocks or boulders or things like that you can tell it's giving you a down, like when they drain lakes and stuff for the winter pools or whatnot. Also using, I have the app on my phone. I think it's a $10 or $15 Navionics app that I can pull it up and get the more detailed contour lines and depths and things like that to look at that as well. I go in and I'll Google search the catfish and the name of the lake or the name of the the stretch of the river that I'm on, and just see what kind of pops up, and that comes along with when you do that and you pull up just an area on Google Earth or whatever, it actually shows pictures that have been taken, and I guess cell phones, things like that have GPS coordinates. You take a picture and you post it to Facebook or whatever, and ends up somewhere that Google indexes that photograph. It will index it with the location of where that picture was taken. So people might not know this, but this does happen. And when you take that picture and it has the location and it's indexed on Google or whatever, it shows in a small list of pictures on the bottom of the Google search, and it'll show you, such and such has a picture taken right in the middle of the river right here, and you click on that image, and it'll be a guy holding a big old flathead, you know. And I mean, he didn't mean to give that away, but his phone told exactly where he caught that fish at. This is, you know, some things that, you know, or where he took the picture at, you know, and like some people will take that fish down the way and take, you know, but no matter what, it's all information that, you know, I look at and I start researching, especially places I've never been. Um, yeah, I'll have the AutoChart Pro, but that's, you know, right now there's also other ways. During the summer, uh, one of the good things that I did with my Humminbird unit was basically thinking about where the thermocline was going to be at on a lake that I had never been on before. And I sat out in my boat and I pulled up the lake. It was an HD, you know, an HD Lake Master chip lake that I had on my Humminbird. Pulled it up and I did a depth highlight where I basically highlighted um, the areas that were outside of what I figured the thermocline was going to be. You know, above it and below it, or whatever, or actually above it. Anything like, you know, 20 foot and above, I highlighted in a green thing, and it showed me, you know, some areas where to go and try immediately, and some areas that I completely wanted to avoid. Which, you know, that right there can save you a lot of time. You know, if it's a 5-hour trip and you're not going to be pre-fishing it, things like that are going to save you a ton of time, especially for tournaments when time is, you know, of the essence to try to catch as many fish as you can. One of the other things that I do is I keep a bait tank in my garage. This year, I actually want to change it up a little bit. I'd like to have I'm thinking of doing like the big 330-gallon tote that they sell, the liquid type totes that you can get at different you know, food grade supply yards where they use them. They just discard them or whatnot. I've seen them on Craigslist around me for about $40, and that's a 330-gallon like tote that can be cleaned out and used. And I'm gonna put it probably in my back under my awning type thing. It's not really an awning. It's like my overhang for my back porch. I have a big area back there. Should stay in the cool shade year round. I'm going to keep, you know, bluegill, things like that in there, maybe some creek chubs in that big one. And then I've got a 55-gallon drum that I'm going to be pulling the top off of and making a shad tank. Hopefully I can keep some shad alive for a couple days. And I can go and try to get some fresh shad a couple days before tournament and have them in my shad tank ready to go come tournament time. And they're, you know, having fresh bait available to pull out of your garage on tournament day is awesome. I mean,
you got a picture of that tote?
You want a picture of the tote?
You have a picture. I've not ever seen one like that, I guess.
Yeah, I can pull one up. And while we're talking about it, Melinda Jackson, or I got a message from Melinda Jackson asking about shad. Basically, what you can do to get rid of the film, or you know, I guess when they start to foam in the tank, the bait tanks or whatever. What I've got is it's just a powder form coffee creamer, I believe. The powder, you just take a little pinch of that, put it in the top of the thing, it gets rid of the foam. But normally foam it means there's something that's not good going on, and the coffee creamer isn't a fix, it just gets rid of the foam. But like if you're just trying to see, you know, exactly, you know, to see the fish and all that, then, and I'm trying to pull up a picture for you here, Lyle. I'm trying to find it.
Well, I mean, you don't have to do it right now if you.
Yeah, here we go. I've got it. All right, so I'll do a screen share anyway, since I just pulled it up on my local Craigslist. Let's see, share that. So everybody can see this right here. You can see liquid storage IBC tote tanks. They're, you know, got the big metal crates around them with almost like a skip underneath them.
Yeah, I didn't know what you was talking about. I'd like, at $40, I'd like to have one of them.
Yeah, 207 inventory reduction, 275 and 330-gallon liquid storage totes. Dry food waste, can be used for pretty much anything. Right now they got them. You can see they're $40 here in Summitville, Indiana. But yeah, those right there. I want to put one of those in the back, like I said, underneath the um, right underneath the awning in the shade, keeping the shade year round. Um, I may have one in the garage that has some creek chubs in it, and use the big one out there for just bluegill. So I have 3 bait tanks ready to go at any moment with shad, bluegill, and creek chubs. But yeah, having the bait fresh and ready to go on tournament day, and that means I can go and catch it, in the whole week leading up to a fun trip or a tournament or whatever. I can go catch it. I can be out. I can go out Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday night fun fishing and just be catching some bait too, and be catfishing and bring it home and have it ready to go as well. So, for the planning stages, doing the Google Earth and looking up the water and then just Google searching the catfish in that area. Also, like I said, with the Humminbird, some of the features that they had, like I used it once this year with the thermocline. When I knew the thermocline was in heavy on the lakes, I highlighted areas that I knew were going to be probably too deep to be fishing, and I marked that. Well, I had those marked off and highlighted the areas above them. So it pointed me to the right direction. Didn't do. I think I got 4th place in that tournament on a lake I'd never been on before with my wife. Basically just out of the money, which has been my luck this last year for the most part. But some of the other planning things that I'll do would be, let's see, I got another question. What do you plan on feeding your bait? Basically, I don't feed them very much. I'll tell you that right now. I go through bait pretty quick, so I normally don't need to feed them because they can go for a long time without eating. And if they do die, it might be 1 or 2 here and there, and it's not a horrible deal. But I do have just some. I got a few different kinds. There are the pellets and the flakes that I'll just throw in there every once in a great while if I feel like I haven't used them. But yeah, that's what I do as far as feeding my bait, and as far as filtering and everything, I have basically a ice cream. If you like the Neapolitan ice cream jugs, the big gallon. I don't know what they are, but the big old jugs like that. I'll take that. I drill a bunch of holes along the bottom of that filter, or along bottom of that ice cream jug, and then I fill it in with. I'll put the dish scrubbies in there, and I'll put like some aquarium rocks in it, and I put some activated carbon pellets that you can just buy at the fish store. I put all that into one thing, and then I have like a pump that just pumps it from the inside and into the top of it, and it just drains through the bottom of that and goes through everything and filters that way, and it does a great job of pulling all the stuff out, which at some point we'll do an episode basically right on bait tanks and things like that, and I'll do a video and have everything on exactly how I have mine set up, and especially I might even do videos on what I'm doing when I'm building the ones that I'm building with that 330 gallon or whatever it is. So, but yeah, you can throw like for catching creek chubs around me. I go out with the ultralight pole, bluegills. There's plenty of little streams and stuff that I can catch creek chubs at. I have probably 10 holes within half a mile of my house that I can catch creek chubs at. Plenty of places for bluegills, all the different kinds of bluegills. I don't have a great place for bullheads. Now that's something I struggle with finding, but I've never even caught a flathead on a bullhead. So you know, I don't. I know I've heard they're the greatest thing in the world since sliced bread on flathead bait, but I've just never done real well with them. They're hardy little buggers, though. I'll tell you that. I've had them on and had them on all day on a hook and been slinging them out in the river and put them back in a live well, bring them back and taking them out again and using them again as bait and brought them back and they'll still be going. So, um, trying to think on for my planning stages of you know, if I'm going long trips and things like that, I definitely try to, of course, have good information about where I'm staying at, how far the water that I want to fish is. Um, you know, the basically the reviews and things of that of the hotels or wherever you're staying at, so that way you know you're not in a bad area and really people should look into that a little bit more. There's you know, every town has that area that you might not want to be in, and that could be close to water, so you might, you know, do a little bit of research on the hotels and things that you're staying at, and, you know, sometimes saving 10 or 15 bucks might not be worth where you're hanging out at. Sorry. But, yeah, I mean, Chuck, have you thought of anything else for your planning, or Lyle, or?
Well, we use the Google Earth a lot to find our spots and the Navionics deal. But I still like the old type maps. You know, when we went to Wheeler, that's the first thing we done. Stopped, picked up a map. Every time I go somewhere and they offer a map at the store wherever we're at, I'll always pick one up and I'll refresh myself before I ever go, and I can figure out how far it's going to be to where I want to go and look around. And you do that pre-fishing and you do that the day of tournament. Um, it also helps me with knowing how far, because I know about how far I can go on fuel one direction, because you got to come that far back. And the variables are current, wind conditions, how much weight you've added to your boat, and different things. But you can get a general idea, and I try to take all that stuff into consideration. But I like to look over a map. You can put that map out on a table or something and put your vehicle. They're bigger, easier to see, easier for me to read, and you guys will always, when you catch up with age with me, you'll all understand how important that is. But the maps, nothing will ever take the place of a paper map, 3 foot by 3 foot or whatever size they are. They're very helpful, and some of that stuff that's on those maps will never change. Other things where there's current and stuff, trees washing in at flooded areas and different things like some of that stuff may or may not change, but and a lot of times I'll come in after a day on the water and I'll make adjustments to that map of things I found, and it's just to me that's very important when I'm going somewhere long distance to look for fish.
Yeah, Anthony Robinette says, you know, what about checking your gear, preparing for tournament? That's one of the things that I do is I go through and I will, it honestly, I think it doesn't matter. I'll check my leader line, but almost every single time, no matter what, I cut my leader line, cut my hook off, retie everything brand new. I will check above my leader line on my main line on my braid to see if I'm seeing any wear patterns or, you know, nicks in the line anywhere, and then I'll cut that off, you know, go above that and then retie, you know, on fresher line. Um, I tried, you know, being so, and this goes into a little bit of being sponsored and stuff like that. You know, me having Black Horse custom rods out there and stuff. I have a rag out there and I can just get it wet and clean off the scales and things like that. I mean, I know Lyle understands that, you know, sometimes there's gonna, you know, your rod's not gonna be beautiful. It's not gonna be in pristine showroom condition, but as long as it's not disgusting to hold, then, you know, that's what I try to do is I try to make sure that it's a presentable looking rod that people can, you know, really see the details in the decals, things like that. In the doesn't have a bunch of crap on it. So I just clean off the rods a bit, Give them a good wipe down. Yeah, pretty much make sure that I have like all the sinkers that I think I'm going to need, all the hooks and everything, all is in my tackle box ready to go. Of course, make sure the trolling motor's working, the fish finder's working. I know that if you get out to a body of water and you find out something's working that or something's not working, that would have been easy to check while you were in your garage or something. That can completely change the attitude of your trip, and when that happens, normally it's not a good trip. It's just being frustrated at yourself. So the more things, like I think Lyle or Chuck might have said, I can't remember, having a checklist of some basic things to check off before every tournament, before leaving. Um, even making sure you have a spare tire, you have a jack, you have jumper cables, you have. One of the things I need to do is get what do you call it, the bearings and the whatever I don't know what they call it in the. I couldn't do it if I needed to, but I guess it'd be nice to have for your trailer axles. I can't think of what it is.
Buddies?
Well, not the bearing buddies, but the you're talking about something else.
Your mind goes first.
Yeah. But yeah, bring it. Make sure you got a net in the boat. Make sure you got your cast net. If your cast net, if you remember, catching it up on a rock or a limb, you can take some monofilament and fix it up, and or just go get you. Yeah, that's it. I think it's a spare hub. Thanks, Major Brown. Yeah, some people have the spare hub in there, and yeah, first aid kit. That's another good. Charles Manning said, wherever you're going to be at, have the local hospital number or something like that, and an address maybe in your phone.
That's a great idea.
Yep. I mean, I've only had to call an ambulance out on the water one time, and that's one time more than I wish I would have ever had to. And that's just 911 in that scenario. But being able to, if I would have had to get off of that water and find a hotel or a hospital, I don't know what I would have done. I mean, I had no idea.
I see that Jason Aycock thinks that he needs to have zebra cakes in his boat. Personally, I like smoked flavored Vienna sausages, but zebra cakes would be okay.
Ooh, Vienna sausages?
Yeah, smoked flavored.
Oh man.
If you can eat them, they'll cure what ails you, dude.
I tell you what, man. Take some chicken livers out there, fry them up out there on the boat. Got you some chicken livers for eating and using for catfish bait.
You all right with that too?
There you go.
You was talking a minute ago about checking your line above your leaders. Well, we always put new leaders and hooks on. I don't ever sharpen a hook. If it's dull, it gets thrown away. If I'm in a tournament, I don't have time to do it. When I get home, I ain't going to screw with it. I think that's a waste of time, and I just don't mess with that. But we was checking them lines and stuff before we left for Wheeler, and I actually found a couple of nicks in some braid, and we're running 80 and 100-pound braid on almost all of our rigs. Well, it is on all of them. And I found some nicks, and one of them actually I had to rip back probably about 4 foot of line and tie a new swivel on because it had so many nicks where we've been in some trees and rocks or something, and that's a great idea to go over your stuff before you. Man, there's nothing sorrier than breaking equipment in a tournament or something after you spend a lot of money, travel a long distance to get there. Where in a second and a half or 2 seconds you can check that braid and make sure that it's good, or your main line, whatever, so you don't have to mess with it. I mean, it's a common sense deal to me.
Well, yeah, Adam, it was, but I guess Don Johnson that was just in here apparently didn't like our show. I'm sorry, Don.
What's the matter?
He's going back to watching Miami Vice.
Well, I'm sorry about that.
Who?
Don Johnson. You know, I don't. I mean, yeah. I mean, I guess the show ain't gonna be for everybody, but you know, I don't know what the point in telling me that this is stupid and you're going back to watching Miami Vice is. So
Oh,
have
sweet.
fun. Have a good time. Watch Miami Vice.
Good luck with it.
But everybody else, you know, 30-something people in here today. That's awesome.
That's 38.
Yeah, 38 people. Um, you know, that's you're gonna have people that don't like the show. You guys all in here, you all talk and chat, and you know help with great ideas and talking, and that's what that's what makes the show great. I think you know people
Yeah.
really enjoy it. I was down in Cumberland City this weekend, trying to catch skipjack. Apparently, I forgot how to in a year, so um, you know I had a real tough time. But you know we had a few guys around us catching fish, and we're talking about Catfish Weekly and stuff, and you know he might remember the name of the website you know next week or whatever, but you know he definitely seemed all about it. He said he definitely was gonna watch a show. It sounded something like it was super interesting to him. He could sit and listen to Catfish talk for hours on end, which you know we can too apparently.
Apparently, yeah.
But yeah, the you know, I guess I've heard. I've even tried to make. I don't know the baits. I guess you know you get like clam juice and sardines and you put some stuff together and you think, oh man, this has got to be the ultimate catfish bait. But you start messing with that stuff in the kitchen and your wife comes in and normally it doesn't go over too well. And you have this big jar of this secret concoction that you think is going to change the world of catfishing, but it doesn't get very far.
No. Yeah, not usually. I remember, I guess it was last year I had seen on a video or read it or something that a guy was using chicken breast and cutting them up into chunks and soaking them in clam juice.
I've heard the chicken breast with like strawberry Kool-Aid and Jello and stuff like that.
I mentioned that to Cindy, and boy, the next trip we went to where we was fishing for channel cast, she had it in the boat, buddy. I don't remember if we caught anything off of it or not, but we had it, you know, and that's just part of preparation. If you, and I'll tell you, I believe that if you think it'll work, it'll work. I really do. Why else would people buy all that stink bait crap? Because basically you'll catch some stuff on it, but from what I've seen over the years, it's pretty minimal, usually pretty small. But you know, if you think it'll work for you, it probably will work for you. And if you don't think it will, it probably won't.
Yeah. Does a couple guys in the chat have mentioned having an extra prop?
That's a great idea.
Having the extra prop, don't you need you might, if you lose a prop or you have a bad enough problem with a prop, once you probably need that pin or whatever as well. So an extra prop pin.
Yeah, they'll fall in the water quick and they'll be gone, and an extra nut also.
Yep, you ain't got nothing in that boat that'll take its place either.
Nope, and even if you hang a net under it, that nut will fall right through that dip net.
Yep.
Yeah. A couple extra things to have on the boat too would be a plug, an extra boat plug or two in a truck. If you have any sort of adapter, I guess that would to hooking up trailer wires. If you have like a 4-way to a round adapter that'll fit your truck or whatever, having an extra one of those would be a good idea. I have 2 of those just in case one, backing it down in the water or whatever, one of them goes bad. You got an extra one to back it up. Yeah, the prop wrench, having a prop wrench, being able to get it off. There's a lot of things. Extra oil. I've seen when I went down with Brian and Denise, he had a giant box that was just filled with stuff that you hopefully never need, like a new hub and bearings and extra, plug wires and just every oil, everything under the sun. I mean, it was a 100-pound box that he carried around, and it's a good thing to plan and be prepared. I've had tournaments where I've went on the way there, I lost a trailer tire, and on the way back I lost a trailer tire. So you might have one have prepared for one, but maybe even having two if you want to. Especially, I would say, especially anybody that has a dual axle trailer. You know, you're looking at four wheels over two. Having a double blowout is more of a possibility for you. Extra anchor, maybe in the truck or something like that, just in case, or in a boat. Um,
Extra batteries for your Minn Kota remote. They're hard to find, and they'll die on you when you least expect it. They say
yeah,
they last 4 years, but I don't think so.
no, my a regular iPilot controller, I would say it's like a 2032 battery, I believe. The little circular batteries. Um, Probably change it every year, at the very least. The new remotes, the Link remotes, don't use that battery at all. They're only rechargeable, and I'll tell you right now, if you're out there using that on a heavy usage basis, it's going to last you about 4, maybe 5 hours. So you definitely want to have the USB style charger cable on the boat to be able to charge that remote for the iPilot Link out on the water.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
There's Robert Tallman mentioned the marine radio, the VHF model. I really believe that is something that if you're running the big rivers, you should have in your boat. Um, I was turned on to those by Ricky Bracken a few years ago, and really need to get on a stick and get one, because if you break down, you can get a hold of them. If you're sitting out there broke down, the barge is coming at you, you can get a hold of them. If you roll up to the dams to lock through, you can get a hold of them guys. Um, for big water fishing on big rivers or any navigable water where you have to lock through a dam or something, I think it is essential that one of them be in every boat. I'm glad that Robert brought that up because I had forgot about that. But those can be a lifesaver, and not only that, if you're not having problems when you're coming down the canal at St. Louis, or you're pulling up to a dam or something, you say, "Hey, I'm coming through. Can I get right in, or need to wait?" Or whatever the case may be, and they'll talk right back to you. So when we're down in St. Louis, there's a lot of barge traffic, and I mean a lot of barge traffic down there, more than anybody ever realized unless they've been there. And if you're in a spot, one of them can holler at you, or you can holler at them and ask if you're in the way. If you are, you get out of the way, and if you're not, they'll tell you that they got it. And it's just a really, really good idea to have one of those in your boat.
Yeah, and Charles Manning, mentioned extra batteries for your camera or your video, and also I brought up for your scales. I've been in a situation. I do not. I have a pair of 110-pound scales in my tackle box that I keep in the box, and the batteries are not even installed in it. The batteries are still in the original packaging, and I only put a battery in that scale if I have to use it, because twice somehow, I don't know how, the batteries went dead somehow, and I was unable to weigh fish over 50 pounds. My 50-pound culling scales were maxed out, and you can't I couldn't weigh the fish because my batteries are dead. So I don't even put them in that scale. I only put the batteries in it if I'm gonna weigh a big fish.
Well, any electronic scale that I've ever used, seen, or been around, if you leave batteries in them, they'll go dead.
Yep. So
We take them out every time when we're done using them, because You'll forget to take them out at the end of your trip, and the next time you go to use it, they're dead. And we'd keep a set of spares in the boat, but you got to take them out of them electronics. I don't know whether there's a drain in all of them that I've ever been around, and they'll go down in just a day or two if you leave them in there.
Yeah, or getting knocked around your tackle box, they can come on and off. I was getting my tackle box off of the boat Sunday. I pulled it over the side of the boat and I let it down, and when it hit the ground, um, my trolling motor came on. I had my iPilot controller in my tackle box, and when it hit the ground, I guess something hit the jackrabbit button, and my trolling motor jumped on the speed of 10. So and I didn't. I mean, I heard something bump at the time. I didn't know what it was, and then I started looking around the boat, and I seen my trolling motor running wide open.
Yeah,
So,
there's flashlights, and you know they're not battery used. I'm sorry I had to do it, but that's how you charge them. You just shake them up, and
yeah, we got some of those emergency flashlights like that.
so like that. I mean, that's a good thing to have, the flashlight you don't need batteries for. And I was gonna tell everybody, one of the most important things to playing for any tournament, and I've had partners not do this on me. Look at the weather forecast. See if it's going to be cold, if it's going to be rainy. Don't show up to a tournament with no coat and then be sitting there freezing, and then every time I try to get to move to a spot, you're going, stop! We can't go anymore, I'm freezing.
Who was that?
Just one of my partners, he did it, and he did not look at the weather forecast, and he froze his butt off, man. He kept saying, stop, 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 because I was trying to move from spot to spot, and I had to stop like every 5 seconds because he was just freezing with no coat on. And I'm like, why would you not look at the weather forecast? But you need to know if you're going to need rain gear, if you're going to need a coat, how you need to dress. Weather is one of the first things you should be looking at and watching coming up to a tournament, or going just fishing for fun. I mean, you don't want to be on a boat with no rain gear or no plan for the weather that's coming at you.
That is 100% correct.
But yeah, spare eyeglasses or sunglasses. That's always good to have. I keep an extra pair in my truck, so that way of prescription glasses in my truck, and I think all my prescription glasses have the built-in change to sunglasses and stuff. So even though, just so everybody knows, I might be going to contact, so I know I'm good looking now, but I might even be better looking with contacts in again. So better watch out, all you Scott Wisemans out there. But by the way, we took a guy that's new to catfishing. His name's Chaz Anderson. Me and Scott Wiseman, never been skipjack fishing, new to tournament catfishing. We had an awesome time with him. He asked a lot of questions, and we had no problem answering questions with him. And it's something that we talk about here on the show is taking new people out. Answer questions, I mean, we shared a hotel room, shared a truck drive down, and we had a great time. I mean, it was really, it was really awesome meeting him, awesome spending time with him. He really enjoyed catfishing and skipjack fishing and learning, and we enjoyed, hanging out with him. He's a real cool guy, and just, you guys need to do that. Take people that are new with you to do things like that, and introduce them to what catfishing is, and into the family or the brotherhood of catfishermen, I guess. And show them what we're about, and that's how we're going to get the right kind of people into this sport. Is by being who we are, and really being open and inviting. But yeah. He said that I'll tell you right. He said they had mountain trolls in Tennessee because I was snoring so much, and I tell people I snore, but I am getting the CPAP machine, and so people that have a hotel room with me in the future or whatever, hopefully I'll be quiet from then on. But I'm a pretty bad snorer right now.
I just got a message from Don Johnson.
Yeah.
I can't repeat it.
Well,
Well, just because I can't. Quite
Well,
interesting.
did he say who he was?
Well, yeah.
Because I know who it is.
Okay.
I think I know who it is anyway.
Quite interesting. Very funny.
But let's see. I'm trying to read
You gonna
some of the chat.
keep Pap in the boat?
Well, am I gonna keep the CPAP machine on the boat? I might need to.
Jason's.
Hopefully, maybe I won't be as tired if I use the dang thing, so I won't be sleepy in the boat.
Well, that may or may not be the issue. I don't know.
Yeah, I bet that Don Johnson's a huge Pay Laker. Pay
Yeah.
Lake, he wears Pay Lake Madness, and I bet that's what it is. I bet he thinks Okuma cold waters are the best reel ever made too.
Maybe.
Yeah, He's a commercial fisherman from Kentucky. But anyway,
Oh, man.
all right, guys. I think we ran a pretty good show on the topic. We got a lot of the stuff covered. You guys got anything to add to it, or you want to go ahead and do some closing statements and get her done for the night?
no, just don't forget, if you're ever planning a trip, call and invite me. That's the most important part.
What was that now, Chuck?
If you're planning a trip, invite me. That's the most important part.
And Robert said they took a vet out, a veteran, and she never caught a catfish and got her first one ever with them, and that's awesome. I mean, that's what we got to be doing. We got to be getting people out there and just really enjoying them. And another thing I was going to tell you guys about, just one more thing that I did. Besides, having that calendar app on my phone, I also went and bought the big giant desktop calendar, pen and paper. So while I'm sitting here, I can write down if something comes up, so that way I don't forget about it. I can write it on this calendar. It's got a big old section for notes, and I can keep notes for Catfish Weekly or whatever I need to on the side here too. And I think this is going to work out really well as well. So that's an idea for some people there, if just to help you keep track of everything that's going on. And Chuck, I know you're getting some advice from me to you, and I told Lyle this too. He'll tell you. You're into the tournament catfishing. You're really into it and everything, but you have to take time to go on them fun trips and just enjoy yourself fishing, man. Not have the stress of a tournament. You really got to make sure you still keep your passion for just fishing. Enjoy it. Go out there with your wife or just by yourself if you need to, or a friend, and just sit out there and take in the scenery and take your time, relax, and enjoy fishing for catfish.
Oh yeah, I'm still gonna be doing it, but I won't be able to, plan and go on longer distance trips like I used to. Like, I would always try to get to Wheeler, once every 2 months and stuff like that. I'm just gonna have to fun fish here right in front of the house more often. And
Yeah.
if I do plan some trips out, it's gonna be off fun fishing, but also to do a little bit of pre-fishing ahead of time to get to know some of these lakes that I've never fished. That's, like I said, supposed to be considered my home lakes, that I'm supposed to, I've got to be able to hold my own on these things. So I got to get out and get to know them. So that's going to be my fun fishing.
One other good idea before we get off here on planning and things like that. Um, if you're going fishing by yourself or even with a friend or something, let your wife, girlfriend, somebody know exactly where you're going to be at. I'm talking, if you can, if you're going to be on a lake, exactly where you're going to be at around on the lake, or what lake exactly you're going to be on, what town it's in. If you're going to be on a river, exactly what stretch of the river you're going to be on, and exactly when you should be home and when they should hear from you or not hear from you. And in case of them, something happening, they know where to send people to look for you. So that's another great idea for preparation and safety and things like that. Always let somebody know exactly where you're going to be at, exactly when you're planning to be heard from, to be back. So
Yeah, there's so many places on the river that you do not have cell phone signal. You'll be surprised when you get out on these rivers in between these towns, and you get in these, down in these hollows and stuff. Uh, you know, you, it, we went to a tournament last year and we could not use the phone all night. I mean, that's how bad this place was. And then two places on Logan Martin yesterday I've never been. We couldn't get a signal. And then there was like three places on Gunnersville Saturday up around the up above the Scottsboro where we couldn't. So you could be on the bank freezing to death. Boat broke down and you can't call nobody or anything. And when it's this cold out, there's not a whole lot of boats running around 5 or 6 o'clock in the right before dark, for you to try to holler at, send blow your little horn or whatever. So
yeah, everybody, thanks for coming tonight. There's Don Johnson right there.
where's Don Johnson?
He just posted. Anyway, thanks, Tim. We're gonna try to keep it up. We're gonna keep doing it as long as we can, and as long as everybody keeps showing up and listening to us, we'll keep going. So, Chuck, if you have anything to close us out, we'll go ahead and get it closed out, and we'll see everybody next week. But Chuck, go ahead.
No, I'm good. Hope to see everybody next week, and I had a good time tonight. Appreciate everybody coming by.
All right, Lyle.
I just wanted to let everybody know that I think it's the third week, third Saturday of February will be our first Twisted Cat Outdoor Tournament at Columbia Bottoms in St. Louis. So if you get a chance, come on down there. And pretty good crowd tonight, 38 people in chat, maybe the largest group that I remember seeing. So very, very happy about that. That's really good. And thanks, Don, for coming on. It's a lot of fun when stuff like that goes on. Even if the people in chat doesn't realize what's going on and behind the scenes, it's still a lot of fun for us. And it's pretty cool. But yeah, everybody be careful out there skipjacking, and if you're getting out to go fishing, I know there's been some guys get out there. Be very careful. The water's extremely cold. Don't want anybody getting hurt. Want you to all come back and see us next Monday.
All right, yeah, everybody. Skipjacking at the Tennessee Cumberland Power Plant was not awesome on this weekend, but I'm thinking with some cooler weather, it'll probably get a little better. Um, there was a lot of people out there this weekend. Some people got on, a few of them. Mostly, I'm hearing like at the most 30, maybe 40 apiece, and that's with a good hard 10 hours of fishing. So, and that's per person. They weren't on like they're on a lot of times down there. And there was a guy that almost, an older gentleman almost fell in the water, and with the rocks and the mud and everything that's down there, you guys got to be careful, and keep all that in mind no matter where you're at. Try to be around somebody, let them know. If you need help, don't be too prideful to ask for it. And so. Besides that, like I said, thanks everybody for showing up tonight. Lyle said 38 people. I believe that is an all-time record so far on the chat. Hopefully that just keeps growing, and we have to keep paying for more and more users to be able to log in. So, everybody knows all the advertising that's available, that's still available. And if you have any questions on any of that, the super fan, that's still available. We'll probably, I think next week we're going to do next Monday will be the What's Up show. That's basically going to be the what all's been going on this month in catfishing, and we'll talk about just all the recent topics and things like that. Just the information sort of week show that we're going to have. If you guys got any ideas that you want us to talk about, send us a message, let us know, or post them on the Catfish Weekly Facebook pages. Besides that, I think that's all I have. Make sure that if anybody's out there fishing and you see me and I'm out there, you just stay out of my spot.